Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just a fantastic couple in love that loves reacting to some Fallout.
Yeah, we do.
And so we're checking out, continuing with the Storyteller series for Fallout. This is Season 1, Episode 2. If you want all of our Fallout reactions, we got playlists down below in the description of this video, as well as our link to our Patreon. You can get early ad-free access to videos like this. Are you ready?
Yeah, because the last one left off on a cliffhanger, so...
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
You've experienced the Fallout series in your own way.
Yeah.
Want to learn more about its story? Well, to get to the heart of the story, you have to go back to the beginning.
Super mutants.
Vault-Tec presents Tomorrow's Technology Today. At Vault-Tec, we're more than just America's first choice in vault technology. Thanks to military science, we're also your first choice in personal defense. Upon leaving the vault, you may find your neighbors on the surface have changed a lot while you were away. Little Sally Sue, for instance, is gone. And in her place, we see Mr. Scary. Mr. Scary is not our friend. Here at Vault-Tec, your safety is our #1 concern. So we're here to help any post-nuclear nuisance go away. Introducing the Mutant Blaster R88, the latest in mutation-removing technology. Simply point this patented device in the direction of the threat, pull the easy-to-use trigger, and watch as Mr. Scary goes away. Forever. Results may vary.
When the Great War annihilated civilization, the survivors lost their loved ones, their homes, and their worldly goods. They endured a daily search for food, water, and medicine. They also had to seek out their lost identities. People have always defined themselves by the work they do, the place they live, the things they own. In the Great War, it wasn't just buildings that were destroyed. Entire cultures were erased from history. In the brutal years that followed, the survivors had to define themselves again, find meaning in their existence, or face a metaphorical loss of their humanity. But a much more literal threat to their humanity was already in place, waiting quietly beneath the desert for someone to stumble across it. Someone did, nearly a century after the war, and that threat came closer to extinguishing humanity than all the bombs and guns of the old wars. A single neutron passing through a strand of DNA can cause a cancerous tumor, but a lifetime of exposure to unprecedented amounts of atomic fallout will have wildly unpredictable results. After a few generations of passing on this defective DNA, a species will begin to mutate. That explains many of the strange beasts running around the wasteland.
Yeah, Scorpion.
But not all of them. There's a different strain of mutant out there. They're shaped like men, but bigger. Some of them are more dangerous than Deathclaws, stronger than a man in power armor. They call themselves super mutants, and they're not the result of random contact with radiation, but rather a deliberate act of genetic tampering.
Of course.
Holotapes unearthed in pre-war military installations show that the United States government started out with good intentions. Rival nations had attacked America with biological weapons, resulting in a new plague, so America's leaders created their own defensive virus. The plan, originally, was to make a germ that would mutate America's population just enough that they would become immune to the viruses that the enemy might use. In a sense, this forced evolutionary virus worked, but the effects were much more drastic than anticipated. The animal test subjects mutated by it were not only resistant to common biological weapons, they also grew stronger and more intelligent, but monstrously deformed. In Maryland, the virus was placed in a Vault-Tec vault and used as part of their cruel experiments. According to files recovered from a Vault-Tec mainframe, the people who took shelter in that vault were exposed to the virus by their own overseer, the very man assigned to protect them after the bombs fell. After escaping the war, these people suffered even worse than those trapped on the surface.
Yeah.
The mutation process is painful, and most people exposed to the virus die a horrible death in a body they don't even recognize as their own. Those who do survive often wish they hadn't, because their very humanity is taken from them. Whatever they look like before mutating, they transform into an enormous, bald, green brute. That sudden loss of identity would enrage almost anyone. Maybe with enough therapy, a person could come to terms with their new body. But most of the poor creatures suffered from another side effect: reduced cognitive capability. Despite the virus's potential to increase intelligence in some people, most of the super mutants on the East Coast were just plain stupid. In fact, many of their brains were too small to perform even basic autonomic functions like breathing. For those that survived, there were some positive trade-offs. Their strength increased tremendously, as did their size. Even the small ones are nearly 10 feet tall. In the capital wasteland, these beasts continue growing throughout their existence. Wanderers have reported fighting super mutants that are 15 feet tall, and foolhardy adventurers have pumped hundreds of bullets from assault rifles into mutant overlords without bringing them down. Scouts from the Brotherhood of Steel even claim to have fought super mutants that are 20 feet tall and can survive a direct hit from a mini-nuke. The only factor that keeps them in check is that they are infertile and cannot reproduce, at least not the way that they did when they were still human. The first mutants created in that horrid vault might not have been as intelligent as the humans who created them, but they had strength and righteous fury on their side. The mutants turned on their creators and transformed them into the next generation of super mutants. And in time, the vault was nothing but mutants, alone, undying, and just intelligent enough to know that they had been betrayed by humanity. Forcibly stripped of their humanity, robbed of their ability to reason, and transformed into massive brutes, they were an angry horde trapped inside a vault. Rage and boredom are an unstable mixture, and eventually that vault burst. Hundreds of super mutants emerged into a wasteland where their enhanced physical abilities made them better suited to survive than the humans around them. The disorganized humans had only one advantage, and that was their numerical superiority. Outnumbered and unable to breed, the mutants were still cunning enough to understand that they had to boost their ranks by kidnapping humans and exposing them to the virus. Further west, things were more complicated. California and the West Coast had their share of trouble with super mutants. But those mutants, they didn't just suddenly pop out of a vault and rampage like mindless savages. The mutants of the Wasteland's core region were the result of a misguided plan to set the world right. The mutant army was smart enough to scour the lands for new humans to mutate, and to select people with little exposure to radiation. Using humans with DNA undamaged by radioactivity meant they were more likely to keep their intelligence after mutating. The size and capability of this inhuman swarm grew, always hungering for the purest human DNA to serve as the building blocks of a master race. This was before the new California Republic had solidified, before the Enclave chose to reveal itself, back when the Brotherhood of Steel kept their technology closely guarded. There was nothing to stand against an army with such organization, such single-mindedness, such unity. Who they had been before no longer mattered. The super mutants weren't divided by old-world notions of race, and they did not bicker over religious beliefs, for they all worshipped the same dark god and claimed that they could hear his voice in their heads. Did this dark god exist? Were the mutants led by some cunning mutant general? Could the master race have a master of its own? Someone or something was certainly behind this new unity movement. No doubt, through much trial and error, this dark god created generations of flawed beasts before finally discovering that the FEV works most effectively on people who have low levels of radiation exposure. Access to pre-war computers revealed that the wasteland held secret communities of uncontaminated vault dwellers whose gene pools had been protected for generations deep beneath the earth where the radioactive fallout couldn't reach them. It's ironic that the super mutant master was done in by the actions of one of these vault dwellers. Regardless of how it happened, with their master gone, the mutant army scattered. The former elite guard of the mutant army have taken the fall of their master the hardest and have become an unpredictable menace. These Nightkin, as they call themselves, were once the best of their species, augmenting their strength and cunning with pre-war stealth technology. They are usually still in possession of the rare Stealth Boy devices and use them without concern for the harmful effects of prolonged exposure. After decades of constant use, their minds have degenerated and their skin is darkened to a distinctive gray. They're plagued by hallucinations and imaginary friends. Often their jabbering is the only sign that one is nearby. Due to their tendency to appear in unexpected places and engage in bizarre behavior, a single Nightkin can be more dangerous than a group of their green-skinned brethren. Some super mutants have formed their own communities, following charismatic leaders across the wasteland. Turn the radio to the right frequency in the right parts of Nevada, and there's a broadcast coming from a mutant girl who thinks she can take the Master's place and guide the mutants to a new utopia. Although she has gathered many followers, her mental instability ensures that this is unlikely. Some wanderers even speak of outright friendly super mutant companions who accompany them as friends and equals. Given their resilience and long lives, these benevolent creatures could still be out there looking for new adventures and traveling companions. A few diverse communities consisting of humans, ghouls, and mutants alike have popped up, at least for a time. Despite the best efforts to get along, it seems that differences will always reduce people to fighting among themselves. Perhaps that dark god was right, and what the wasteland really needs is more unity.
More super mutants.
If the super mutants do ever form another army, they're likely to find the wasteland a little more of a challenge this time around. Since their master fell, the world has become a more crowded place, and there are other, better equipped factions of humanity ready to challenge any newcomers for the spoils of the old world. But that is a story for another day.
Cool. So what'd you think about the super mutants?
They remind me of Killer Croc from the DC universe.
Okay, yeah.
So when they first came up on the screen, that's just who I kept seeing in my mind. I was like, oh my God, it's Killer Croc. But it's like a whole race of Killer Crocs. Very unsettling. The whole notion of the government doing these experiments, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yep, there it is.
And then what they became and how they turned on the scientists and how they're after pure human, like, anti-contaminated genes, and definitely the stuff of like a horror series.
Yeah, and it made me think of actually like, this is what happens when the super soldier serum goes wrong, and you get it wrong, and you're trying to make people resistant and trying to make and improve people, but when you mess with biology and it messes back, and so these are the results that you get. It's really sad though that these super mutants, they're people that were experimented on and didn't ask for this. They were in the vault. They thought they were going to be safe, and all of a sudden they were exposed to this. And I can see legitimately why they're pissed. It's interesting that there is, like, I guess some little bit of it. Like, I mean, the ones that survive obviously have some intelligence there, because they said some of them were so dumb that they couldn't even like breathe.
Yeah.
They didn't even know how to do that. It was both sad and interesting.
Well, some of them have to have some intelligence because they recognize that they couldn't reproduce and therefore captured humans for the purposes of keeping their race of people alive. Which, if the small ones are 10 feet tall, I would prefer them to be very dumb so that we can stand a chance.
I know, right?
Them even having any kind of intelligence definitely makes them an imposing threat.
So, do you like better so far, the Vault one or Super Mutants between the two episodes?
I think the Vault one.
Yeah, Vault one's super fascinating.
Just the psychology of that one gets under your skin a little bit more. This, I think, was more passively entertaining, but I could see them making a whole TV series out of Fallout. I'm kind of shocked that there isn't one, or at least maybe there is and I just don't know about it yet.
Yeah, I think I thought I heard somebody say that they were thinking about making one, but I don't know. You'll tell us how much you thought about this down below in the comments. And if you want all of our Fallout reactions, go ahead and check out the description of this video. We got playlists there for you, as well as a link to our Patreon. We can get early ad-free access as we continue this series, and a bunch of our other videos as well. You can get early ad-free access to those. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Fallout Season 1, Episode 2, Super Mutants, but just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.